decided as to who's going to be moving on forward, but still plenty of chances to advance here in the Chinese side of things. Snapfire plus Void Spirit being picked up very early on, and interestingly enough, Aster picked the Phoenix into Snapfire. In fact, we often see Snapfire being picked as a counter to Phoenix, so it's a bit strange that they picked this after seeing the Snapfire. Of course, they themselves, they have the Mars plus the Phoenix. That's a very nice combination. We've seen that a number of times. We'll see if that's enough to actually protect the Phoenix. They can get some good supernova pops off. Now, there are some teams who go into games and they have a very clear idea of what it is they want to do. They just go in, they pick their draft, and they aren't too bothered by what the enemy chooses. That certainly is one way to do it, but obviously doesn't always work.
10 seconds remaining.
Snapfire plus Void Spirit, on the other hand, it's a relatively versatile set of heroes. Both of them are relatively even. Sort of when it comes to their attributes. You're not talking heroes such as, say, a Drow Ranger, who you really do have to draft around.
5 seconds remaining.
There's fairly all-rounded heroes, a bit of flexibility there as well when it comes to the roles. Very interestingly, Access banning out a lot of position 1s. The Spectre ban, I think, does make a lot of sense, seeing as Aster.Aries first phase banned the Viper. But these other position 1 bans does make you think that Access have something particular in mind. We don't always see illusion heroes these days, but I get a feeling an illusion hero could be pretty good here. Obviously, you'd have to wait for a couple more heroes to be shown before you can pick them confidently.
Radiant team pick. Dire team pick.
Doom being picked up here. And that does mean they're showing free strength heroes. Timberstone not banned out. I'm sure that's very tempting for Access. And actually, with the Doom being picked up, this could end up being a very good Phantom Lancer game. Anti-Mage still left in the pool as well. I think it's quite clear that they'll need some sort of defensive support. And we're likely going to see that picked up here. A support who can either just heal up her allies, or a support who can sort of kite around the enemy, allow them to disengage safely. Oracle, I think, is the most obvious choice, but a Nerf Spirit could be nice as well. They go with the Lich. I don't see the Lich being a particularly good hero here, but he is relatively strong in lane, especially against short-ranged or melee heroes. One thing about the Lich Shield is you do get the spell on the Doom's Doom, and that would get rid of that relatively easily. Grimstroke in combination with Doom, not too crazy there, but the Ricky coming out. Ricky coming out is not something I expected to see. I was really expecting more along the lines of a Phantom Lancer. Now we see some teams really like playing the Riki against the Mars because the Mars is strong from the front, but Riki looking to get onto your back anyway.
10 seconds remaining.
So that's very interesting.
5 seconds remaining. Dire team back. Radiant team back.
Timbersaw being banned out. As I was saying, free strength heroes, very tempting. Just gonna get rid of that. Also very obvious that Aster.Aries needs some form of right-click core. If you don't pick up a right-click core, you go more magic damage. Access are just gonna stack pipes, and that's gonna be the end of that. So the bans from Access do make a lot of sense. The issue that I see with Riki is that you're not a hero who does well when you're doomed. Riki relies a lot on his spells to survive, to hunt down targets. And you're not particularly good against the Phoenix either. I mean, you're still an agi hero, you gotta blink, but you can't actually blink on top of the Phoenix Egg. Magnus being picked up though, that does change things quite significantly for our Riki. Now Riki is one of those heroes with a bit of a weird build path. Often you do start off with the Diffusal Blade, not too much variation there. But then if you want to scale into the late game, Riki is pretty bad when it comes to farming waves, pushing out, which is something the hero you would imagine would naturally want to do since you're invisible, get around the map easily. And so we often see Rikis pick up a Battle Fury relatively late in the game, sort of as a second or even the third item. But seeing the Magnus there, that is an absolute game changer. Could still be a core Snapfire, say, and a support Magnus. I think it's more likely we see a core Magnus, get a nice and early blink, and set things up for your team. He is going to be their main initiator. Lifestealer still left in the pool here for Aster.Aries, but I don't think that's a particularly good pick. Instead they go with the Anti-Mage. That's an interesting one. Because playing the Anti-Mage against the Riki, if he gets onto you with the smoke screen, it's very hard for the aim to react. Your Manta style doesn't help you in that situation. And so what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to do a really aggressive 4 protect 1 kind of thing? Force the enemy to defend and therefore giving the anti-mage space? Because if you just split up, there is a good chance you'll just get picked up by Riki running around the map. And I think it's quite clear. If Aries, they go in very aggressively, if they're able to win team fights consistently using their big ultimates, their big team fight combinations, then I think they're looking pretty good. If not, it's not even just Riki. You got a Void Spirit as well. These are very nice heroes when it comes to going for ganks. Not saying I like one draft over the other. I just think it's quite obvious
Prepare for battle.
that Aries are going to be struggling to protect their anti-mage, and I don't think it's a good plan to sit behind him the entire game, try and protect him the entire game. Offense can be the best defense, and this is going to be a textbook example of that. Nothing too crazy on the lanes here. I think seeing Mars offlane, Doom mid. And that's very standard. Doom mid, especially. Something we see more and more of these days. It's just a hero who
30 seconds.
pretty much never loses lane. Worst case scenario, you got a lot of regen. Down bottom lane, though, we've got our anti-mage. That means he's going to be playing up against an off-lane Void Spirit plus Snapfire. Both these heroes very mana dependent. So if the anti-mage can get in, burn all of their mana, that's great. But they're going to be trading back a lot of damage as well. Darley up top. We'll see how he does. Generally speaking, Ricky we don't consider to be a strong laner. He does have decent base damage. But otherwise, doesn't have the best tools when it comes to say, hitting a Mars from the front. Mars, on the other hand, we do consider relatively strong laner as long as he has mana. And the Phoenix is an interesting one. Can be very strong in lane, but you do have to hit your spirits. If you don't hit your spirits, then a fairly squishy hero, bad against physical damage, low armor, low attack range. But already a decent start here for Arias, able to deny the range creep to the enemy while picking up their own. And Darley, he is going in. They're not quite level 2 just yet, though. At level 2, when the Mars, he gets both of his abilities, very hard to get aggressive because he just pins you against a tree. Level 1, this is quite a big vulnerability for the Phoenix too. You don't have your mobility, you can't dive away. And by pushing in further, pushing in first, Access, they have the level advantage here in this lane, only for a short while. Going for the pull as well, that's interesting. We'll see if Arias can contest that. Stun in onto Bobo. That does mean YP eats the Inkswell. Now HP is one thing, always do have to look at the mana pools, that's why we're seeing mangoes coming out here. For long GGG, normally we see this hero being played in a solo lane, but in these dual lane situations, it's not terrible. You do get a bit of extra resonant pulse block when you hit multiple heroes. Mid lane, Ken is a bit low. Once that regen starts kicking in, he's going to be fine. Interestingly enough, goes for the bottle. We don't see the bottle every single game from a Doom. But with the bottle, I think he's just straight up impossible to kill, especially if he gets the 4-minute rune. And it is quite similar from both these heroes. Even if you don't get CS in lane, you have other ways of getting GPM. Devour is very obvious. And then the Mars, he's got the Empower, he can go farm jungle very efficiently. On the other hand, that's something the Ricky just simply cannot do. Even at level 6, the second you start aggroing creeps, you're going to be hitting them from the front. It is quite important for Phoenix to get levels, and they are doing that right now. Fairly even EXP distribution between both of their top laners. Dive 4, they want to get onto Wild, looking for an angle to get the pin. Wild's not exactly squishy, but they will be able to finish him off. Frost Shield not being enough against the magic damage. Four-minute runes, gonna be bottom. Bit unfortunate for Ken.
Has been killed.
Was just 50-50. It being a DD rune is very nice as well, because this allows our Magnus to farm very easily. free 4 right clicks. That's enough to take down that easy camp just like that.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Anti-Mage has an early Ring of Health. I think the Chinese teams actually do prefer going for the Ring of Health early, whereas Southeast Asian teams, I think, have a bit of a tendency top lane. Phoenix gets gone on, the slows from the shield are enough. Dahlem will be able to pick up a couple of last hits here. And I would say that for Arius, getting EXP is more important than last hits in this top lane specifically. And so as long as they're able to share EXP from that hard pull camp, I think they can still be happy. Anti-Mage likewise, farming up.
Dire's bottom
We'll see who can get more last hits. YP, not able to get that one. Grimstroke finishes it off. 5-minute runes went decently for access. They were able to take the river rune without any contest, but... Ooh. Tricks of the trade going in. Darley, he is out of mana though, so can't really chase on forward. Our Mars with the bottle gonna be regenerating up there. At level 6, there's definitely some kill pressure, but they will need detection against the Riki. And access, I think, the Riki's doing okay in last hits. You're definitely winning out in the last hit battle in the mid lane, but Devour does even things out.
is under attack.
Once again, going in with the shield. And the shield does a surprising amount of damage. Aggressive dive forward here. That's interesting. They do get the stun against the tree. Darley taking a lot of damage from creeps. He will not go down. But for access, I think you just sit back, you get your first layer of items, get the blink on the Magnus, get the diffusal blade on the Riki, and play from there. Whereas on Arius, not looking so much in farm, they're looking for levels, they're looking to get their ultimates online, and they're looking to apply pressure to the enemy, forcing them to fight on their terms, thereby allowing the anti-mage to farm. Darley does hit level 6 much earlier than his opponents, however. That is very significant. What we saw him doing earlier, he has a lot more kill pressure, and they know this, even bringing in YP. The slows are nice. Darley pushed away by the spear, but Dahlem left behind. No way to survive there. And our Phoenix, I really cannot do much to protect him. That's a bit unfortunate. That's going to be delaying his level 6 even further and putting the Riki close to the defusal. Now, anti-mage down bottom, it's been a pretty quiet time. Mid lane, though, they're going for a dive onto the Doom, or rather the Doom went for a dive himself and ends up getting punished. Access going to be moving around the map. Riki, very inefficient in the jungle. That is a fact. But when you have the Empower, suddenly it becomes not too bad. That's exactly what they're doing here. They know the Mars is about to hit level 6. It's a risk. Just get back. Again, you're not looking for fights until your Riki has a defusal. So why not just head into the jungle and be safe there? Long GG, having a pretty good time in that bottom lane. I would say having just as good a time as the anti-mage. And generally speaking, when the anti-mage trades farm, that's good for the AM in the long run. But in the case of the Void Spirit, he simply comes online earlier. He will be able to get around the map now. Oh no, that's terrible. They dive in. Use the Doom on an illusion. Oh, that's so disheartening. And now they're down their cooldowns. YP jumps forward. It doesn't change the fact that Ken is somewhat tanky, but again, this is the Void Spirit coming in very early on. He comes online. He can fight right now very effectively. And he's still got an Astral Step Charge, is going to get stunned up. The Mars Arena is available, but they just don't have the numbers to fight back. If they had the Phoenix hit, completely different story. He's not quite there yet. A very nice turn of events for access, obviously, but the Void Spirit leaving lane does give the AM a free lane. I think he will be able to pick up a Battle Fury at a pretty decent timing. Mid lane Doom coming back in, honestly. Even if it didn't end, with a complete disaster, I think just in terms of morale, Dooming an Illusion really does hurt. Anti-Mage actually playing very conservatively, going to be headed into the jungle. Wild is going to get taken down at the cost of the away way.
Courier has been killed.
Our Magnus is indeed going to be going for that blink first. There are some games where you want to be going for, I guess, the damage, the stats, and the Echo Saber. But this game, playing against the Anti-Mage, you do have to apply pressure. You got these tight timings. And, if the Riki finds good farm as well, you come online at the same time. Very big playmaking potential, very big power spike. Dolem, up top lane, does have the Phoenix to back him up. It looks like they want to force something down, bringing in the Anti-Mage as well. Should be able to take this tower without much issues. The thing about scaling with levels instead of farm, you tend to come online earlier, and it's similar to the Void Spirit.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Riki working on that defusal, 1,200 gold away, smoke up though from access.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Now this is a very big risk. You know that they have the combination of the arena of the Phoenix Egg. They're going to try anyway. Leading in with Darley, he's able to find the supports here, but he can't quite finish them off. Will be able to get the Grimstroke finally. Egg in a decent position that will be able to survive. Bobo barely able to take a blink out of there. I suppose they avoided the worst case scenario. Their Anti-Mage still alive, still going to be able to farm. But Arius, that was their two big cooldowns being used, and they still couldn't win the team fight. I think it didn't help that it was a bit spread out. I think it didn't help that you had the Egg on one side, you had the Mars ultimate on the other. Wasn't really used together there. That is the blink from the Magnus. What really doesn't help is that it puts Riki pretty much with the full defusal here. He's able to get a bit of farm bottom. And in just a second, we'll see his courier flying out to him. And that's where the game really becomes hard for our Anti-Mage. Because Riki, even with just 1 point in the smoke screen, can pop up. Even if he doesn't kill you, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Your team's going to have to respond. But that was always how this game was going to go. And it's going to be up to the rest of Arius to try and protect him, try and make that space one way or another. "13-minute defusal, pretty good timing there. We'll see what they can do. I think supports are always going to be easy pickings. But it does help if you can close the distance first, get the smoke screen off before they can react, and then chase them down using your Blink Strike. I don't think you want to be starting with a Blink Strike into the smoke screen. On the other side of things, our Anti-Mage, he's doing decently as well. It's not going to be a super fast Battle Fury, but 15-16 minute Battle Fury, that's acceptable. 17-18, that's a bit late. And if he was having an absolutely free game, he would be able to have the Battle Fury roundabout now. RP is back up. Going to be seeing a smoke broken though. But regardless, it's Access who finds the jump. Snapfire provides the damage into that RP, and Arius, it's just not working out well for them.
Dire's middle
And they have to be forcing fights. Again, I don't blame them for what they're trying to do. But just getting picked apart, they weren't all together, even as 4. Obviously, in most cases, you don't want to be bringing in the anti-mage, but for Arius, still being split up, 2 heroes smoked. But that is the power of access. You know, they've got the Blink Dagger now, you've got a lot of mobility. And Long GG, he gets another kill. It's so easy to follow through with Ricky as well. He doesn't even have the range talent on Blink Strike. But Arius, if they're spread apart on the map, they are just very easy marks, very easy targets. No RP here, Magnus. We'll see what he can do. Shouldn't be that much of a threat. But Bobo, just feeling the pressure. Maybe not so much about that kill, more about sending a message. Now we do have a Blink Dagger. This time the Doom comes out. It's not an illusion. That Blink could not come out. They will be able to kill the Magnus. But here comes access for the chase. Still do have the teamfight ultimates here. Phoenix Egg is available, as is the Mars. Everyone, 4 heroes caught inside the arena. And that egg is going to pop on top of everyone. Everyone going to be, well, actually team wiped here. Long GG, let's see if he can escape. Slow comes out from the God's Rebuke. Looks like he will be able to get out of there just about, but finally we see Arius using their combination together. And that looked pretty darn good. There's nowhere to run from that egg. So much damage from the egg, actually, if you're sitting in it the entire time. And obviously the stun after is amazing. And Arius, big success for them. Not only getting all those kills, but giving their anti-mage so much free time. Now he's got the Battle Fury. And this is where the fun begins. Do have to point out the Yule Scepter on the Mars, of course. That was quite integral. Interesting that he goes for the Yules over the Blink. Personally, I would have gone for the Blink myself, but Yules does give you better defensive options as well. Our anti-mage still slightly behind the Ricky, but his farm should skyrocket now. Gets onto a pretty nice Ancient stack. This is a triple stack. We got 2 sets of rock golems. And that alone is going to be very significant. Now, as the anti-mage, I think at some point, maybe as your 4th item, you are going to need a BKB. Just some way to deal with the smoke screen of the Ricky. I think a BKB or maybe even a Satanic, an early Satanic, I think could be very good this game. Just reducing the duration of the RP, making sure that you can survive through a fight. But that is much further down the line. Our Doom does have the Doom backup. We do have every single ultimate available here for Arius. Would like to see them go for something, but instead they're the ones getting engaged on. And again, when you're split up, it's easy pickings for access. Losing the Mars means no teamfight combination either. And so, killing the Mars, you might as well be killing the Phoenix as well. They're never going to go for a fight with just the Phoenix Egg. Long GGG. Second in net worth, actually. He's been a very active part of these fights. Not to mention he was the only person who survived on his team last time around. But our Ricky also continuing in farm. Again, he too will need a BKB at some point. It's a bit greedy to go for the Manta style first, but there are a couple of spells you can purge off. That whole WW by himself, they know he's there because they see the Stroke of Fate. But of course for him, he's getting information. His anti-mage is able to get out onto the other side of things, and he's buying a lot of time. I think he will go down anyway, Can't really say that's worth it, but it is better than your anti-mage dying. You know, he gets maybe 20 seconds of free farm. That in itself is quite valuable. Dual Scepter up here, but there's no trees to pin him against. He's gonna have to use the ultimates. Ooh, dive forward from the Phoenix. Very aggressive egg positioning. Anti-mage blinks out into the egg. And from the burn damage, they're able to get the kill onto the Lich as well. So that's not bad, taking down the Riki especially. But these are very long cooldowns. They still have the Doom. Access, I think, once they respawn, looking to leverage their RP cooldown advantage. 20-minute runes coming up in just a second. This could be big. No way for Ares to get the rune. Oh no, they can just take it, even through that Aether Remnant. Bit of a ballsy move from there. An RP into a Mortimer's Kisses, that's always scary. But taking advantage of the time while the Riki's down. And to have to point out Ares, yes, they're strong in team fights, and finally using their combination, it looks pretty darn good. Problem being, if they use their ultimates and they don't win fights, Access are just going to chase them down with the Riki, with Void Spirit. And do have some nice items coming online though. BKB from our Doom. It means you'll always be able to get that off unless he's RP'd. And of course the Blink Dagger just gives you that better initiation. They are very reliant on that Mars to get the fight going. And we'll see if that means they want to go for a fight. They do have their cooldowns back up, but Access grouping together, I think it's fairly obvious that the Riki has his entire team behind him. And looks like the plan is for Ares to fight. Smoking up, we'll see who they can find. Glyph coming out does indicate intention. Aether Remnant in a nice place. Dolem going to be blinking over that, however. He does not have a BKB, gets stunned up. He's still inside the smoke screen. Dual Scepter will allow him to reset, get his ultimate out. Phoenix, actually, no, interrupted. RP mid-dive onto our Phoenix, and he gets taken down. Buyback, well, what can it really do here? The rest of his team getting picked apart. Mantis Tau will allow Bobo to escape, getting rid of that Diffusal Blade. But already it's a win for Access. I don't think they're done just yet. Darley's thinking about going in, gets right onto Ares. Ares no longer has his BKB. He's going to get taken down just like that. That smoke's been doing so much work. And Bobo, he blinked in. Bobo blinked in. He's still not dead. He's able to survive for just long enough. Darley dies to the Phoenix. Phoenix does still have the egg, but doesn't have any fire spirits to go with it. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Bobo, though, able to get in, snipe a couple of kills. But it's quite clear that it's not a good trade. That's a dieback on the Phoenix as well. And in 2 lives, he still could not use that egg. That RP could not have landed any better. Completely different fight if the Phoenix gets the egg in a good position. You know, everyone was trapped inside the arena. You know, these are the kind of things that you know is possible, but basically never happens. Now for Access, at the same time, you know, they lost their Riki. Riki, you know, he's not snowballing out of control, is behind the Anti-Mage now. And Access weren't able to convert that into a tower. They did get the Glyph out earlier, and that's a very long cooldown. We'll see if they can try and punish this tier 2 now. It is expected, actually. Oh, toss forward here. Long GG comes in. Dolem pulled back. And with just the Dual Scepter, it's not enough. Even if he was able to survive, you know, let's say at a BKB, what then? It's not like you can turn around. You don't have the Phoenix alive. So how do you fight this? Doom getting chased down as well. But that's always going to happen when you're out on the map. And it's a pretty tough situation for Ares. You know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're too far behind, you simply cannot take team fights straight up, but when you try and go for the split push, that's where you get picked apart. And we're going for Roshan here. If Riki can get Roshan's back, which actually sometimes we see the micro being messed up, but it's not a slow Roshan. Decently timed Roshan. And obviously Arius, down 2 heroes, no way they can even dream of contesting. Wai Chen taking a lot of damage for that, but that's okay. Ricky here, going to be going for a full-on damage build. He's going to be able to continue farming using the Empower. Obviously not as good as an anti-mage with Battle Fury, but he will be able to remain relevant. Arius playing together. Got all of their cooldowns up. I actually don't mind this. You've got some initiation potential coming from your blinks.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
A lot of natural mobility for access, but making up for that in items. Going in here, Phoenix, he does get the egg off, but it's not in a particularly good position. The stun's coming out though. The egg, it is protected, and it will pop. Mortimer's Kiss is coming forward, not actually dealing damage to the anti-mage. He just has that high magic resistance. And this time around, Arius, they're the ones able to win this team fight, but that's all of their cooldowns down except for the Doom. And Ricky still holds on to that Aegis.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Anti-Mage is going to be going for an early Battle Fury. I think that's very necessary against the Ricky especially. And I think that might actually allow him to fight in these straight up engagements. Starly is in the tricks of the trade, does have the Aegis, will get taken down. Bobo coming in. Does have to be wary of that Magnus. He is doomed for the moment. Once that Doom expires, no doubt we'll be looking for a good RP. Arius, though, this fight has gone on for so long, they actually have the Arena of Blood back up. And so there's still the possibility that they go for the jump, knowing that the Ricky does not have the Aegis anymore. Silence here from Blanc GGG gets right onto the Phoenix. Phoenix cannot dive away. Being traded back for support, however, makes this relatively even. But the Grimstroke left behind, he doesn't have any mobility tools. It's easy pickings for that dual mobility combination, the dual assassins here. Anti-Mage is on the other side of things, is going to be pushing that tier 1 tower. Even with the glyph, tier 1 going to be falling here. Definitely worth pointing out that this is just the second tower that Arius have lost. Only lost to tier 1 top, still having their tier 1 mid. Gives them so much map control, it's a TP point. Now our anti-mage, in theory, at some point will outscale the Ricky. And that's mostly just through farm. I don't think the Ricky's bad late game. But especially when it comes to that heads-up matchup, if the AM can sit there, if the AM can right-click you from the front, he should win. And our anti-mage, honestly, has been having a pretty good judgment when it comes to joining fights. There have been some close calls, but our AM has not died yet this game, while still being able to contribute, and that's very significant. I think once or twice just tipping the tides of battle in their favor. Now Ricky going for the Desolator, that is arguably the best choice for damage. That also means he basically has 0 survivability, even going for the Basher afterwards. And we are seeing a couple of problems in these team fights without the BKB. Just the combination of the Mars smoke up here from Access, but Arius playing in a pretty defensive position. They have the Grimstroke in place to try and break this smoke, although if the Mars is the one who's gold, that's an entirely different story. Pings coming out. They know something's happening. Mars, he will be able to get his ultimate off. But he does get Ghana. Nice Dual Scepter, though, dodging out the Axe. And they've caught the Void Spirit. Controlled Void Spirit doomed up here. Can they finish him off? Egg in some trouble. Gets taken down quite easily by the little Shredder. And Access gonna be picked apart here. Again, once you lose a fight, you're just gonna get chased down. And finally, taking down the Anti-Mage here. Wai Shen with the RP lands only onto the Anti-Mage, but the fight was already over at that point. So he didn't have to worry about hitting a good RP onto multiple heroes. Arius, pretty big loss for them. The Anti-Mage especially. Now Roshan is not up just yet. If Roshan was up, that would be an even bigger loss. But Access able to convert this into a kill on the final tier 2 tower. Doing the Void Spirit, that was nice. You take the Void Spirit out of the equation, but ideally you want to be going for the Riki or the Magnus. And doing the Riki really does make it hard for him to play, because he's so reliant on his abilities to get around a team fight, getting in, getting out. Unfortunately, the Magnus with the Linkens is much harder to go for. Arius now in a bit of a tough spot, 15k net worth deficit. It's very hard for Access to push in. They don't have very good tower hitters. Fighting into a choke against what Arius have drafted, that's always going to be scary, but Access with so much map control. Interestingly enough, going for the kill here, but unable to get the chains done along GG. Very safe. And in my opinion, that was a bit ambitious. But I suppose going for a pick-off is all you can do. Mars Ultimate at level 18 is not super long. I think it's maybe 70 seconds or maybe a minute. It does go down a bit as you level it up. Access going for a smoke here. They're going to have the Doom in just a second. And Doom, he gets taken down before he can get his ultimate off. It just came off cooldown. Such a bad team fight here for Aries, just going in one after the other. They didn't have their ultimates back up, and Mars feeling so confident getting on forward, diving into the enemy base. And again, it's that scenario where if you lose a team fight, you will get picked apart. Void Spirit chases, Riki chases, he's got the range talent on the Blink Strike. And Arius, the timing just did not make sense at all. They had the Doom up in literally 3 seconds after he died. Could have just waited for that. Didn't have the Mars ultimate, could have just waited for that. Instead, they fight into the enemy instead of the enemy coming to them inside their base. Very poor judgment here from Arius. And they're going to be losing 2 lanes of racks. Absolutely nothing the Anti-Mage can do. All he can do, or attempt to do, is go for the split push. But the towers, they fall so quickly. I don't even think he'll be able to get this tier 2 tower. The only way he can get this tier 2 tower is if Access try and go for the Megas, which they're not going to do. Disappearing off the map, heading back to this tower. AM couldn't do anything. A very sad way to end the game. Just one lapse in judgment is all it takes. Arius already playing from behind. Now they know Roshan's going on. I think that's fairly obvious. But Access scanning them out. Ken goes in. Can't even get the Lich. Now Roshan is very low. This could be a big opportunity. BKB goes in. How's our timing here? No BKB. Defensively, on our Riki, he's got absolutely nothing. He does eat the Doom, does eat the stuns. That is their biggest source of damage gone. Is that enough for Arius to get into the Roche Pit, finish off this kill, and get themselves an Aegis and Cheese? RP here onto 2 heroes, but frankly, I don't think that matters. They didn't have their ultimates anyway. So losing the Phoenix, really no big deal. Of course, losing more heroes is going to be bad. Bobo, he really wants to join the fight, wants to make use of this Aegis, wants to make use of this cheese, but without his team, he's just so squishy. Aegis expended. really at no cost for access. Remember, this is a 4 versus 5 fight from the get-go. They lost their Ricky, but they're just too farmed. Net worth discrepancy well over 20k, almost 30k here. It's 4 versus 5 access, still winning that one. And that's going to be it. GG coming out here. Arius, just that, I mean, they were behind anyway, so you can't really call it a throw, but that one decision to go and fight when they didn't have any of their cooldowns, they're going to end up losing this one. Access, continuing a fairly strong win streak here. Arius taking yet another loss so far. This is their third series. They haven't won a single game. We'll see if they can pull it back in game 2. Access versus Aster.Aries. Game 1, Access took by storm, but a couple of bad decisions by Arias made the game end much faster. Interesting draft from Access last time around, going for a position 1 Ricky, and that worked pretty well. So runes as expected, no one dying for those, no first blood just yet. It's going to be long GGG together with YP, and in theory, between the bashes and the lift and the slithering crush, you can start it with a bash, then follow it up with one stun, and by the time your chain stun ends, you're going to have another bash up. So that's potentially a lot of damage coming out, which is not being traded back. So that could be significant. Do you have to coordinate somewhat between your two heroes? But I think that's something we expect any professional team to do. Access able to deny their own range creep while picking up that of the enemy. So far, Bobo, he's holding on to the meta. In fact, he's leveled up the illusion first. That's interesting. We don't see that all too often. But if you're not intending to use that meta early, then not much point leveling it up at level 1. Of course, it's very rare to see an early point in Reflection, however. Mid lane. Looks to be a pretty even lane in the CS. Wai Chen, though, starting off with a very early bottle. That's intriguing. On the other side of things, I mean, Ken, you should be able to get a lot of stick charges out of this. And you've got that extra bit of CC. You got a slow. You have the cookie as well. I don't foresee Chen able to get onto Ken and get the damage out using the Firefly with all those sticky napalm stacks. And if you're not actually capitalizing on sticky napalm to get kills, all you end up doing is giving over a lot of stick charges, which honestly is fine. It just means you can't go for any aggression. Metamorphosis was indeed used the second it was leveled up, and now that that's expired, lane does go back in favor of access. But you'll take what you can get on this Terrorblade. Always worth pointing out, Terrorblade, you can head into the jungle relatively early on, level 4, level 5. You can be quite efficient there. With a bit of micro, you don't take any damage on your hero. You've got very high base armor, so your illusions last a long time as well. And with it, his early CS, he's able to get another race band, able to get some tangos out. It's gonna be a decent lane, but once you hit maybe level 5 on the Slardar, you have the ability to chase up to targets with both the Slithering Crush and the Guardian Sprint. And so that's where the lane might kick off, but that's also the point where the Terrorblade can just head in the jungle. Terrorblade high armor hero barely takes any damage from that crush. We've got the 4 emitter runes coming in here. We'll see who can grab them. Wai Chen is going to be putting in his bid for the top rune, and that is where the rune is. But instead of going for the rune, he wants to go for the kill. But again, that Snapfire able to keep his distance. Wai Chen taking so much damage on top of that Maledict. That Maledict might just outright kill him if he didn't TP into the fountain. He will be able to survive there. But using your TP to get out of the mid lane means you can't use the TP to get into the mid lane. He's going to be missing so much CS. And I do find it a bit strange that he went for that attempt on the Snapfire's life. I think that was never going to happen. The Snapfire should be able to kite him around with his spells. But of course, you know that the enemy is around as well. The Rubik was following the Witch Doctor. They knew that the Witch Doctor was in the area. I think that was just never going to happen. Of course, it's not like he dies, but he does miss a couple of waves. Witch Doctor is going for that Maledict Max. And so it was absolutely possible that he would have gotten taken down there. Level 4 here, much easier target in LWW, but he's still not going to go down. Bobo with the meta. It's enough to keep first blood. They are going for a gank, actually missing on the scatter blast of the Snapfire. So Wai Chen, he's not going to be taking that much damage, and only now does the Maledict come out. That's going to be first blood, and second blood, maybe even third blood giving over. Oh god. You don't take any damage from creeps. Tier 1 tower up top does fall. Dolan with the rep trap, he's just a little too strong. In the mid lane, Rubik gonna get taken down here. But that's okay. Just the Rubik. As long as your cores are farming. But this is big though. Rupture comes out. But actually numbers not in favor of our Bloodseeker. Bloodseeker trying to escape from the Firefly. Wai Chen comes in, he's able to protect his PA and get a kill. Now it's 4-1. 4-1. On the kills, and well, access momentum is in their favor, but net worth is still quite even.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Fundamentally, it's a Terrorblade, able to farm up very efficiently.
Radiant's courier has been killed. Radiant's top tower.
Dolan soon to have an Atos. That's definitely going to help with the kills. People can't just TP out of him. And he is their best catch. Until the Snapfire gets an axe, until the Tusk gets a blink. That's not going to be there just yet. And our Tusk, I mean, he's not doing too hot, but he's still top of net worth out of the supports. And low action games does tend to mean support struggle since they're not farming, and the damage coming out onto our Tusk. He never stood a chance. Level 9 on long GGG, he's out of free lane to himself for the past couple of minutes. We'll see what he chooses to build for. Smoke up here can... they're trying to find the Phantom Assassin, but PA getting out to the good time. Not actually dropping any wards here, though. That's a bit of a mistake. They're going to get one in the mid lane. I suppose that's okay. That's going to make the tier 1 tower push much more secure. And with that, Bobo confidently uses the meta. Access, they're not going to give this one up that easily. TP in from our Tusk. This is going to be a full-on fight. Batrider behind enemy lines in a pretty good position to go for a flank, but without the glyph, that tower is going to fall very quickly. Tower actually denied by the Ogre Magi. That really should not be possible, not against free Terrorblade Illusions. Stolen blood right here from our Rubik, dealing so much damage. They don't have the ability to chase down any more kills. And that Batrider, again, he was in a pretty good position to flank. He is going to be going in. Is able to take out at least the Bloodseeker. And he'll be able to escape himself. Snowball forward. Long GGG. He's a bit slippery, though. Got that Guardian sprint. And Darley, I mean, he's been farming up. Forced in the jungle early on isn't really great for him. And he's had to TP out, a lot of pressure coming from the Bloodseeker. But at the end of the day, he's got so many buffs on him. He's got the Bloodlust, he benefits from the minus armor of the Slardar. So I think he's always going to have a good time later on. Again, Aries so far have not found too much success. We'll see if Thalem can get the catch. Smoke gets broken. Wai Chen on the high ground is able to blink away, completely disjointing that ATOS. And in fact, with these cooldowns being expended, Axis are thinking of going in, but they won't find anyone. Ooh, Batrider is able to get onto a prime target, takes down the Terrorblade. They are easing a lot of damage in return from the Mortimer's Kisses, but so far, if it's only the Rubik going down, that's still not great. Does get somewhat better when they killed Batrider, but obviously Terrorblade is the hero you want to be keeping alive. If the Terrorblade ever gets too far ahead, the game is just default over. And I mean, Terrorblade late game, that's pretty amazing. Darley here, he's going to be man fighting against LWW. The evasion does help out against Step Forward. He'll be able to survive, but it's going to be pretty close. He's going to be taking a lot of damage from Maledict. But that's okay, he pretty much just gets a Fury kill. All he wanted to do was farm jungle, and instead he farms a hero. Tusk still working on the Plank Dagger, opted to go for the minus armor first. Obviously that means less initiation, less escape. Wai Chen going in is going to be eating a punch. He doesn't have too much backup just yet, so he's not actually going to commit. And Arius, by getting that extra bit of minus armor, if they are able to win a fight, if they have the Metamorphosis still running, they might as well go for a Roshan with that. Otherwise, it will be very slow. It's quite clear that Axis have map control. They simply got more tools. A Phantom Assassin, a hero who can move around the map quite well with Blur, whereas the Terrorblade can't. But a smoke up here, Arius looking for a fight. Once again, hunting for that Phantom Assassin. Once again, will not find anything. And part of this goes back to the lack of vision. They are going to be chucking forward to Tusk. It is going to land onto Wai Chen. Now the Mortimer's Kiss is to follow. With the Atos, able to get that one kill. We'll see what else they can find, because Access, if they find the right opportunity, might be able to turn things around to LWW. Very squishy here. Phantom Assassin still has not committed. Buyback, though, from our Witch Doctor. They realize this fight could be very important. Darley, he still hasn't gone in, but, well, with Bobo joining up, that does become much scarier. Buyback making the numbers even here. Dolim setting things up for his team yet again. By P, that Maledict would have finished him off, even if he was able to get out. That's going to be a team fight win for Arius, but it's not a super clean team fight win is the biggest problem. Lost a couple of heroes, had to use a buyback, and they still don't get the Phantom Assassin. And also that Metamorphosis, you want to be using it to clean up objectives afterwards in an ideal world. You want to be taking Roshan, you want to be taking towers. Instead, just using that to farm. And if the Tusk was alive, as I was saying, maybe they had a chance. Maybe they had a chance to get into the pit with the minus armor. It's always something you have to keep in mind about Access is they can take Roshan in a matter of seconds. And for them, you know, their Phantom Assassin surviving that fight. Top of net worth. Looking good, looking good. 5k net worth lead honestly isn't that big of a deal, but it's the net worth distribution as well. If the other cores were further up, but the PA was struggling, that wouldn't be as good, but PA being the most farmed here in the game.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Bloodseeker going for the Lotus Orb I think is a very smart choice. Pretty much every single spell on Access is targeted except for the Slithering Crush. Tossing forward a Witch Doctor though, they've got out Wai Chen yet again, taking a lot of damage from that Rupture. Actually already RPA half HP. Not TPing out just yet. Metamorphosis being used here should allow them to clean up a couple of kills. And still low HP on the Phantom Assassin. That's a lot of movement speed given over to Dolan. Slaughter goes in for the assassination, but that is definitely not worth it. Good news for them is Metamorphosis was used on this side of the map, which means they can't go for Roche. There's no tier 1 tower here that they can take easily. If it was a fight that happened on Axis's territory, for certain they would be losing towers. And once again, they've avoided the worst case scenario. Their PA still surviving, still top of net worth, even if it's just. Access, they've had enough. Gonna be smoking up. Obviously, they have some pretty good initiation, and they have potential to just get into Roshan as well. Terrorblade not with his team, but they see his illusions. Aries very much split up. Gonna be getting onto LWW. Not the highest value kill, but that might be what allows them to get into the Roche pit. Illusion rune here could be big on the TV if he can get his hands onto that. But in a flash, Roshan already down. And that's just the power of the Access lineup. That's the power of the Slaughter with the Bloodlust on the Phantom Assassin. And we really haven't seen that in teamfights just yet. PA has been very conservative, mostly just throwing out daggers in these fights, not actually committing with the Phantom Strike in. We might see that happening now though with the Aegis. And the Phantom Assassin absolutely destroys our Tusk. Tusk buying back here, wants to get back into the fight. PA still holding onto that Aegis, could go back in. But they're just going to give up the Slaughter. Slaughter getting hunted down there. Access settle for a tier 1 tower. Still plenty of time on the Aegis. You know, they can just reset, wait for their playmakers to respawn and just come back in. It's not too much pressure on them there. You know, Metamorphosis is very long cooldown. If you can play around that, that's also great. Aries going to be taking a bit of time to get onto this tier 2 tower, but I honestly don't think they can hang around. Without the meta, it's not a super fast push. It is decently fast with all of these Terrorblade illusions. And Axis, they're actually not defending. I feel like 100% they could have tried to fight that with the Aegis, especially. But no. No, they're just going to be giving that one up. Does mean they have to capitalize on that Aegis elsewhere, and they are able to do so. Always scary being in the river against the Slaughter. And now Wai Chen goes in with the Firefly. He's got that flying vision. We'll see what he can find. Getting right onto the Bloodseeker. And now the BKB finally being used from our Phantom Assassin. Phantom Assassin will be able to clean up that kill. Losing Wai Chen is absolutely okay since he's already done his job. Now Bobo, he has to be careful. Rubik steals the Mortimer's Kisses. So much damage flying out onto him. His high armor does not help him here at all. And Dolan buying in is just going to die. Already his teammates were dead. No chance of getting out.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
What can I say? Arius kind of getting picked apart, being split up. You would imagine Access gonna be aggressive. I mean, they've got the Aegis, they've still got the Aegis for another 2 minutes. And it makes sense for them to be active, it makes sense for them to be aggressive, so playing so far out on the map, so spread out, I think that is a bit of a mistake.
under attack. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Whoop, Phantom Assassin goes in deep into the enemy base, gets the assassination, turning back now for the easier targets. Gonna be deleting the Tusk as well as the Snapfire. Darley, he's just reached that point, where he's got enough farm to deal damage. He's got the BKB to keep himself alive. And from there, you got the Bloodlust, you got the minus armor of the Slardar. It's not even a close fight against any of these cores. I mean, you look at the net worth, it's so much more than that because of these buffs. And we're effectively looking at, say, a 25k net worth. Phantom Assassin and Aries, they're getting picked apart. Dolam getting caught out once again. You know he doesn't have buyback. Access looking pretty strong to close this one out, and that is indeed going to be the case. Aries tapping out. They have yet to win a single game. Aster.Aries, sister team of Aster, owned by Burning, founded by Burning. Not living up to that name, unfortunately. And Access, they're able to take this one with a clean 2-0, and that sets them up for a pretty good position going into this group stage, looking to secure those last few playoff spots available on the Chinese side of things. That's going to be that game. We do have plenty more Dota to be played today. Another game coming up in just a second. And it's another Chinese game. That's going to be Aster.Aries once again, playing up against Team Sirius, and both these teams don't have a very good record. We'll see who can crawl out from the pit in just a second, so don't go anywhere.